let's talk about today's topic. I know everybody wants to talk about the interest rates, right? So, Lisa, maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Okay, I mean, we try to be as competitive as possible with you guys, but the bond market doesn't look great, which makes the interest rate rise. I mean, kind of think of it this way: you see gas price rising, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
gas price, mortgage, kind of hand in hand, even though they're totally unrelated, but there's some correlation in the economy to indicate that. Okay. And right now, overall, okay, nationwide, 30-year fixes are sitting roughly on average about 4.66 already. Okay. I
Four point
mean,
six six.
4.66 already, guys.
What
Okay.
what's this credit score for the 4.66?
So this is best credit score all around. And
Oh
if
my
you're putting,
gosh.
3 to 25% down, it's a difference. And if you want to buy down the interest rates, a lot of people are right now, just because the chances of interest rates rising even higher. It's funny
It's
because
gonna happen.
I saw somebody's forum of actually another realtor who's like, hey, interest rates are now at 4%. I was like, by the end of the year, they might be, at 4.5. I was like, it's not even half the year yet. And we're already there, guys. And by the end of the year, if it keeps going like this, I wouldn't be surprised if it hit 5.5, 6%. If it
You
keeps going
know?
like this is we're barely finishing first quarter already, and it's not the best, but it's not the worst too, you guys. Okay, I um I had my loan in 2006, and I remember my interest rate at that time was 6.5%, and I thought it was a steal of a deal. I know it doesn't sound that way right now, but it's been low for so long. Don't let that deter you. And the thing that makes it really, really tough is we're also coming into the all-time high. We've already peaked, and we continue to peak and make these um, record high home prices. So it doesn't help. There possibly could be changes in lending that could help with that a little bit more. In the last decade, I said the most popular loans are 30-year fixed loans. There may be opening of adjustable rate mortgages that have rates that are much more favorable. Right now, they're slightly more favorable, but not enough that I feel like, okay, it's going to make a huge, huge difference unless you're coming into really high balance, close to the jumbo loan range. Okay. But still, there's still opportunity. I know it seems discouraging, but those of you who haven't given up, obviously you're fighting against somebody who's winning these offers. And we want you
Mhm.
guys to know these things so that when you guys are coming in, make sure you listen to your agent. Make sure when you're looking at your numbers with your lender that you give yourself this cushion. I think we say this almost every single show, but this is how important it is for Chia and I to want to share this with you so that you can be that homeowner, so that you can feel like that win, even though a lot of you may not feel that way at this time.
Yeah, and another thing too about what Lisa is saying about listening to your agent, listen to your lender too. Right now,
Yep.
because rates are going up so quickly and so often, because Fed said they're gonna be raising it at least minimum 6 more times this year, right? And I just watched a video and they said they might do it sooner rather than later because of how everything's been going, because right now we have a shortage of rubber, we have
Oh,
a
shortage
shortage
of
of a lot
almost
of things.
everything. Yeah.
Almost everything. Yeah, and inflation's
Yeah.
going up, prices of everything's going up, gas is up. They're trying to come up with a rebate now, which we're not going to get into. But because of that, it is so important that if you got qualified, let's say a month ago, get a updated pre-approval right now.
Oh, for
Or
sure.
as a matter of fact, get an updated pre-approval on your budget before you submit an offer.
Yeah.
Because if the rates fluctuate so much and it's at 4.66 on average right now, like what Lisa said, your pre-approval power, purchasing power just went down.
Exactly. Not only, even if it doesn't go down, you guys, I've done it before. And when you're looking at your monthly budget and everything, when you already know you only had $500 to work with and have savings just in case life happens. And let's be real, life's gonna happen regardless of you
Yep.
wanting it or not. And if you're in that really, really, really tight bind, you got to ask yourself, what are you willing truly to sacrifice to be a homeowner? And is it worth it for you to sacrifice those things in order for you to be a homeowner?
Yeah. And we're gonna talk more about that sacrifice, the price a buyer's willing to pay nowadays to be a
Mm-hmm.
homeowner. We're gonna go more into that later. But yeah, right now I think it's important that if you guys were approved with the lender last month, and you guys haven't gotten an updated pre-approval letter, and you guys are still out there every day submitting offers with your agent, you best call them right now and find out what your updated pre-approval budget is, because if you had like a strict, let's say, X amount monthly that you did not want to exceed, if it didn't already exceed because the rates hiked up this past month, then you got to find out what that is, versus waiting till you submit an offer on a home you love and it gets accepted, and then you find out during the underwriter or during the process, and then now you have to cancel. So
Yeah.
find out before you submit an offer. It's not hard to do. Just give your lender a ring and say, hey, can you just check my pre-approval based off of today's rates?
Yeah.
How much did my budget change? That's it.
It's funny that you said that. I actually had 4 people reaching out
Uh-oh,
buffer
I
for
lost you.
people.
Hold
Oh,
on, you got to repeat that. I lost you. You said you had somebody reach out to you and what?
actually, 4 people reach out to me just to update that, because I make it very, very transparent with them. You know, if it changes and everything like that. I've been doing this for pretty much my people on a weekly, if not bi-weekly, and right before they make that offer, or right before they go out there to look at the next homes and everything, because
Mm-hmm.
you want to be more safe. And the toughest thing for me to see is the people, our people too, Chia, who we've we've handheld for the last 2 years,
Yeah,
and right now it's very, very difficult. You see the prices, the average prices are now 600. So are people in the 350, 400, 450
yeah,
range? I had another agent ask me, I was like, is there any way that we can push this up? If we do, we're setting these people up for failure.
we are.
You
We
know,
are.
wish
It's
I
either
could.
you're gonna be eating ramen noodles for life, or something's gonna happen, and you're gonna wonder why you're living paycheck
Right,
to paycheck, and you don't want to do that. It's
right,
tough.
exactly.
But then
So
again, we'll talk more about that towards the end. But yeah, before we go on to the next topic, sorry, Lisa.
no worries.
I'm gonna answer this comment from Shark Bite. I like your name, Shark Bite.
Also,
Writing
yes,
letters. Yeah, Shark Bite says writing letters or speaking directly to the owners can help. Sometimes owners don't just want to sell to investors. Sometimes owners want to sell to someone who would turn it into a home. That is true, Shark Bite. But let me say this: if your agent hasn't already told you, in California, agents can no longer write personal letters on an
yeah,
offer.
yeah.
And if they do, they get in trouble. So if you did not know that, or if your agent that's writing letters to the owners didn't tell you that, now you know. Okay, it's been every agent has been notified, so that's why people don't really write it no more. There's still a clever way you can still get your agent to write a letter to them, to where you don't technically call it a letter, but I'm gonna stay out of that. I'll let your agent get creative with that. Okay, but yeah,
So
that's right. Go ahead.
yeah, here's the thing. There's so many ways to communicate, especially these days, right, guys? It may not be a letter, but when you have people, especially your team, your lender, and your realtor vouching for you, making that phone call, be personable, text. I mean, there's so many other ways to say, hey, what can we do? How can we make this happen? How can we make this win-win situation for both of us? Okay. And I
Yeah.
understand that, we can't have emotions. We can't have somebody say, hey, I'm more privy to this person, they're a family person, they seem like a nice family because we got that picture. That used to be the norm. That absolutely used to be the norm,
Yep.
a shark bite. And, it is a relationship type of business. I personally think that's pretty fair. I mean, Mr. Big Pockets over here, and you got David and you got Goliath over here. Of course, we're going to try to do everything that we can for the underdogs. That's our job.
Here's what I'll say. As a owner, as a buyer, we're looking at it and we're saying, man, like, why would a seller not choose our offer? We are a first time buyer. We're starting a family. We need a home. Why would
Yeah.
they not choose our offer? And it's because they want the highest net. I know that sucks. It may seem greedy, but you got to kind of put yourself in the seller's shoes. Would you prefer a highest net that may be a higher guarantee, such as maybe 50,000 over asking or 10,000 over asking? I mean, I can't answer that for every seller, but that's what they're going through. When they're receiving over 20 offers, it's very hard to get really personal with each buyer, because you
Right.
can't, because you're choosing one out of 20 and you're telling the 19 other buyers saying, sorry, I chose somebody else. That sucks. As a seller, can you imagine how that feels?
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of buyers are saying, man, why are these investors bidding on our home in our area? It's hard to say, because then if you were the seller, you would most likely be choosing that investor's offer too, because they're paying cash, they're paying more, and everybody still has to pay their bills. Everybody still has to use that money to put a down payment on their new home. And guess what? When they do that, they got to compete now with that same investor that probably bought their home. You know what I mean? So, like, it sucks, but that's really the reality. If you're thinking about it right now, it is that's what's going on. It's just
Right.
going in circles, and it really really sucks. So that's really how everybody should see it.
Chia, may I add
But
on just a little bit?
sure.
I'm seeing a couple people when I'm doing numbers for people who are second, third time homeowners and everything like that. Okay. With investors right now, we've talked about the eviction moratorium. Yes, it's been lifted, but the courts are so inundated. So they have tenants that are in here. They are paying rent. They're not paying market rent. And the landlord just wants to sell it, but it comes with a tenant. So that's the
Yeah.
other reason why they need another cash buyer that doesn't have to do that. And sometimes the tenants aren't too friendly about allowing inspections or appraisers to come in. Is that ethical? That's questionable. Personally, I don't think it's nice, but we can't control what people do. And remember, when the seller sells, especially if they're an investor, they're going to get capital gain tax. Okay. And there's a whole lot to that buying. They're actually not making as much as most people would think. They're making a good amount, but when they sell, they're also trying to move that money elsewhere. They're either going to try to do a 1031 exchange, move it somewhere else, so they don't get so much taxed. Okay, so they actually need as much as they can when they do that. And the other thing is too, if they're not an investor and they're buying up, they also, not only are they a seller, but they're also a buyer too. So if, let's just say, for
Yeah.
instance, they have to bid 25, 50,000 in the Bay Area, 200, 300,000, bidding up is normal. It's a crazy number for sure for us, but in the Bay Area, that's absolutely normal, which means they need every single dollar to put in there. And when you do jumbo loans, which is majority of the loans in the Bay Area, and it's coming to us too, okay? There's reserves you have to have on top of your down payment, on top of your closing costs. So there's a lot of things that come into play. A lot of emotions are heightened. This is a very emotional time for sellers. It's
Yeah.
a very emotional time for buyers too. We totally, absolutely, completely get that. But this is the reason why Chia and I reiterate: know your numbers, know your situation, know your finances. So you're coming in with the right expectations. It'll be disappointing still, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
because the market is the market. We can't change that. But it'll be less disappointing when you know what you're up against.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna answer this last question, and then we're gonna move on to the next topic. Ricky says, "Bad time to buy." Ricky, me and Lisa are gonna answer that question towards the end, okay? Because we're gonna actually talk about whether or not you guys should be buying right now. Okay,
Yeah.
so hopefully you can stick until the end of this live stream, all right? But good question. Everybody's dying to know the answer, so hopefully me and Lisa can shine a little bit of our 2 cents on that, okay? So stick around for a bit. All right. So next we're gonna talk about the market. Is it gonna crash? Like with everything going on, Lisa, you think it's gonna crash?
I think we ask this question almost every single time too, right, Chia?
Almost
Crash,
every time.
the time to buy. It's the same thing. There's just so many things that come into play. You guys saw the last segments with the economy, the way that it is, with people not going back to work, with businesses suffering because people aren't going to work. Which, by the way, if you guys come into a restaurant, if you guys come into a shop, I mean, every single place that I've been to, Rite Aid, Walgreens, I actually caught myself getting really annoyed because I wasn't getting service. But then I had to rethink that. I was like, okay, this person's actually working. There is nobody else here. So that's definitely going to affect it. People are more and more going to be working from home and everything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they want a home, which means the demand is rising. But on the other hand, where are these people getting the money to buy if they're not working? They're working. But again, more and more work is available to work at home,
Right.
where gas prices are getting more higher and higher. And I just came back home from SoCal last week. There was 3 gas stations. It was so crazy. 3 gas stations in the same pretty much corner as each other. One of them said 550, one of them said 650, one of them said 790. And that's only if you get a car wash. If you don't, it's higher than that. And I'm like, wow, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really grateful that I have a Costco card now. So when you have
But
to
you're waiting like an hour to get gas at Costco, aren't you?
Well, I went on a Tuesday and I came back on a Friday before everybody else decided to go hang out. Okay. So it's still, even on those weekdays, it was crazy like that. And I know I'm going around about whether or not the market's crashing. You guys, don't take our word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it.
Yeah, you gotta
Look,
take disclaimer.
yes,
Everything me and Lisa says is you take it with a big grain of salt. And then add
exactly.
more salt on top of that.
It's kind of like when you guys throw a rock into the pond and ask yourself, where is it going to land? What it's going to affect? You throw a rock in a pond and there's a ripple effect. Okay. The fish that's swimming upstream, it's going to hit that ripple and it might hit into something else and something else and something else. You have to know these economic things that are happening to really truly know whether a market is crashing. But regardless of the market crashing or not, okay, when you look at your numbers, regardless of you being a homeowner or not, you're gonna have to pay for housing. So you're gonna have to ask yourself, which side of that fence do you want to be on, regardless of the market crashing?
I think, Lisa, I'm telling everybody this. I don't think the market's gonna crash, at least the housing market. The reason why is because we got too much going on right now. We have inflation, that's going up, which is, believe it or not, inflation is driving demand to buy homes right now, at
Yes.
least for investors and hedge funds. Okay. Two, rent's high. Rent is crazy high. Not only that, you need to make 3x the rent amount. You need to make that kind of income 3x in order to even qualify to get that rental.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of rentals, if that. And then 3, everybody's working from home. So for that lifestyle, they want their own home. And like with gas prices being so high, I just had a client that told me, Chia, I need to buy a house because I am not going to install a Tesla electric car charger in the home I'm renting.
Yeah. I've
So
actually had
that
question too.
yeah, that's gonna be the question a lot is gas prices going up. Every manufacturer is creating or releasing an electric vehicle now. Electricity is gonna be a high commodity. Everybody's gonna want a power charger in their garage, not in their landlord's garage, not in
Yeah.
a condo, not in an apartment, in their own home where it's protected and charged.
Now there's a business to be made with that. You know that, Chia. You have an electric car and you know other people are having it like that. I would advertise it. You can plug it in. Just saying.
But then
Honestly.
that's the problem, right? Everybody that needs that big old gap answered and filled up, they need a
Yeah.
home. So what? Those same people are the one that are in the market right now buying,
Do you
looking
see
for
what I'm
homes.
saying? Do you see what I'm saying though, guys?
Yeah.
Every rock that's throwing in right now that doesn't
Yeah.
seem like, I mean, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Basically, when you ask that question, when's the market's going to crash, right? Well, take a look at what's happening. What Chia said is right there on their ball, okay? With jobs
Yeah.
doing what they're doing, right there on the ball, okay? With you guys, the audience being more and more savvy each and every single day, knowing that home ownership is something that could potentially build that wealth for you and has a much better chance than you just putting it in your bank account. Okay, you guys know that already. Okay, so because people are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, okay, and everything that's going on right now and everything, okay, even if the market continues to go up, but if gas prices continue to go up and up like this, it's, when does it catch up? When does it stop, guys?
Right. Hmm.
Okay.
It's funny. Two says, will installing a Tesla charger raise the price of the home?
Well, it
Two,
depends.
I know what you're getting at, man. You're trying to force the appreciation of one of your flips.
Yeah. So right now, the numbers of electric car owners are still significantly less than the number
Hmm.
of regulars because it's so expensive. Um, uh, it's so expensive to make electric cars right now. Okay, so they're not making as much profit. So therefore, it's going to take what, at least I would say, a decade for it to really truly flip, if not even more than that. I don't see that unless that person actually owns an electric car, but it's a smaller
True.
pool. But like I said,
I think,
if
I
you
think
advertise the house where you can actually rent your garage out for other people who construct it, you know,
that could definitely. Oh my gosh,
make
that
a
could
difference,
definitely be
right?
demand because right now people are renting out their extra space.
Exactly. Why
But
don't you
but but I
Airbnb
don't.
that?
But I don't see a Tesla charger being kind of like something that will add value to the home because it's too particular. It's
Yeah,
kind of like I buy a home and I want to paint it, let's say orange. That's very particular to a certain type of group,
yeah,
right? But if you paint it gray or white, that's very neutral. It could
yeah.
be more relatable. So our appraiser is gonna look at it that same way, because
Oh yeah,
we have like an appraiser, Johnny, right? Johnny come on the show before, and this is what he says, if I remember correctly. It doesn't even matter what you do to your backyard. It's not gonna
yeah,
force the appreciation of your home any higher than if it was concrete. I mean, yeah, it looks nice, but don't expect a $50,000 pool to make the value of your home go up $50,000 because it ain't.
yeah.
So like I think the same would apply with the Tesla charger.
I agree with Chia, guys. For that same amount, do your kitchen. Do your kitchen, do your bathroom. Those are the
But
two
what?
big.
But we're not gonna talk about remodels today. We're gonna talk about the market crash, okay? And honestly, going back to what I was saying, I don't think there's going to be a market crash, at least not this year, because there's just too much going on. I think, the administrators, they're thinking too much about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia after they got involved. So, like, I think there's just too much going on. And again, we don't have, like any inventory at all. This is the month's worth of inventory. You guys always hear me say it. Until this gets to at least 3.0, meaning 3 months worth of inventory, I don't see it changing. And home builders are building homes so slow because of the surcharges, because of the permits, because of all the bottlenecks, that it's not quick enough to please or like to catch up to the demand. So just because of this alone, all this data, I don't see the market crashing. I really don't. That's how I feel, and I think I'm gonna stick with that
Yeah.
because there's still people buying. My buyers are still getting outbidded. I just got a colleague of mine. He submitted an offer on a client, and the asking price, the list price on the home in El Grove was was $800,000. It went over $1 million. That's $200,000 difference. And that's $1 million home right there. Well, it didn't start off that way, but then like that's the demand right now. If it's still crazy in that market, that price range, that should kind of tell you guys something about the housing demand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Jay says buying a house with big land good. Of course, buying a house with big land is always good, Jay. You can do so much with that.
Oh
The
yeah.
the question though is that can you afford the price of that house with big land? You know, so if you can't afford it, then it's really out of the question, right?
Well,
But of
here's the
course,
thing too. You posted it the last time too, Chia. More and more cities are getting more friendly with allowing ADUs to be built. So the more
yep,
land that you have, yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you buy acreage land and you know upfront that it can be broken up to different parcels, that's actually a wonderful, wonderful thing, especially during this time.
yep, that's true. There's a lot of things you can do nowadays because they're so low on housing supply that they're allowing all these things to be accommodated now just because they need housing and they know that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Ricky says I rent for $2,275 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Orange County, and it's probably going to keep going up. It is. I hear a lot of people say that it's going to be a renter's nation soon.
So I have family in OC. That's actually a pretty darn good deal.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. I was like, ooh.
You're not paying market rent, Ricky. You're lucky. So either one, you know the landlord. Two, the landlord just don't know what the heck's going on in the market because he's super nice giving you a deal. Or three, he's getting ready to sell.
Well, the other thing is too, there's a lot of landlords out there, especially if it's old money, it's SoCal, okay? That they've already banked out, they've already paid off the mortgage and everything like that. And if you've been such a good tenant, a lot of times they're like, it's too much trouble to look for another tenant. So if you're in that situation, by all means, count your blessings.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't feel like that because it's rent, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Two says I listed my product for $275K and got $290K cash offer in 5 days. Yeah, two. Lisa, just so you know, he's not in Cali.
I was like, you don't seem like you're in Cali, but
he's not in Cali. He's in the East Coast. He's in the East Coast.
I would have said 300. I'm okay with that.
I think he's in Minnesota.
Oh, I have family in Minnesota too.
Yeah, I think he's in Minnesota.
Up there in St. Paul, Minneapolis, there's a huge Asian community there.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's over there. My parents' house is worth $920. Now it's at 1.1. I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you. People are making 6 figures on their homes that they bought last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's how crazy the market's been. So yeah. All right. Well, that's how we feel about the market crashing. I don't think it's gonna crash anytime soon. So because we do get asked. I'm pretty sure Lisa does too. Our clients will ask us, Chia, how do you feel about the war right now? And that's going on in Ukraine. You think that's gonna trigger a market crash? I don't. I really don't. I really don't see that triggering a market crash. At least not this year. It depends on how long it's gonna linger for, but I don't see it happening this year. Okay, so hopefully that kind of gave you a little bit of outside on it. You're like, I really don't feel like that's gonna be the case. All right. All right. Well, shoot, we're like 30 minutes in. You want to just talk about buying a home, whether if they should buy a home this year or not? I think that one's gonna go for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that, huh? All right. The number one question we're getting every day: should we buy a home? Should you buy a home?
It's a good time to buy.
Is it a good time to buy? No, it's not.
No, absolutely not.
it is such a bad time to buy a home, but then of course, there's a twist to that too,
Yeah.
because it's also a bad time to rent,
Yep.
and me and Lisa would, I don't know whether I would even say the people that are buying right now should be doing what some of the renters are doing. They're combining their income to be able to qualify for a rental, and then they're
Yep.
roommating up. That's the only way they can get a home, shelter for their family.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's bad if you're joining together to buy a home together to make it affordable.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, are you gonna argue about the market being the way it is, or are you gonna try to find shelter for you and your family?
Correct.
Because you're still gonna need shelter. I know that's a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah.
but it's happening, guys. Like, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think we're gonna become a renters nation. That's why a lot of these hedge fund companies are buying homes, and these hedge fund companies, they don't care. They're overbuying. They're buying it overpriced or paying in cash and bidding. They just want the house, because you know what they're doing with it? They're renting it out. They're renting it out. They're holding all these portfolio and they're renting it out. But it's not just these big hedge fund companies that's doing it. Some mom and pop investors are doing this too, because a lot of them are seeing how the market's headed. Rent's
Right.
going up. And so they're buying now, even though it's so high. And it sucks for a lot of buyers that don't have deep pockets to compete. But I feel like that's really the case, because there's still flippers out there that are
Yeah.
buying home way over asking. Why are they buying it? That doesn't make any sense, right? Aren't you supposed to buy low, sell high? With the way the market's going, they're buying high and they're selling high.
Yeah. They're buying high
It's
and they're selling higher.
yeah,
So it seems like it's this ongoing cycle, guys, and we feel it. We feel it for our family. We feel it for our people. All of our clients that come to us become our family, so we feel it all, guys. Okay, and realistically, at this point, when we're asking you to, we're addressing this because it's the elephant in the room. Rip off the band-aid and ask yourself: is the pain of losing out on buying a house worse than living with family? And I get it. It's not easy. But if you go down the regular, medium neighborhoods in the Bay Area, there's a reason why there's rarely any parking. It's because they already did that starting like the 80s, 90s, and then you just migrated up. Okay.
yeah.
So you either
Right
share that
now,
or you don't.
right now, your goal should not be to make money if you're buying it. If you're
Yeah.
buying it as a homeowner to live in it, your goal should be to buy it to survive past
To
this
shelter.
crazy market. That's it.
Right. To
And
have some
continue.
sort of a stability.
Yes, that's it.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it sucks, but then I hate to say it. Even if you decide to rent, which is also a bad time to rent too, you don't have the sucky thing about that is you don't have control over that rental. The landlord could just say, "Hey, you know what? I decided to sell. Sorry." So, like, a lot of people that we're talking to right now that are currently renting, they are on month to month.
Yeah.
Majority of them are on month to month. There's a reason why they're on month to month. The landlords don't want to tie them in because the landlord is also unsure if they want to raise rent or sell the house.
Right.
So
Can I
that's what's yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I'm going to piggyback on that just a little bit, okay? Because I have a lot of investor friends as well. And we started to do this thing where instead of just renting it out to a single family residence, it's kind of making it almost a multi-unit where when we're renovating and everything, we convert it and make it into a bedroom suite We're renting it out to individuals, okay, individual rooms, because it's still a lot less expensive than for them to have an apartment. That 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom is a perfect example. That's Southern California, right? Same thing here. Instead of getting that 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom for $2,200, and you don't really have much to work with. If you had that entire complex, everybody shares the living room, everybody shares the kitchen, the common room. It's kind of like dorm living. Yes, I get that. Not perfectly ideal, but not completely bad either, because we get more we get more rental income as an investor that way. Change it if you bought it like that and did that with your entire family. You split it. I just recently read this article that just warmed my heart, where there was a group of 4 single mothers, okay, that did the exact same thing. They couldn't afford to do it on their own. They're part of a mom's group and everything like that, and they decided to do it together so that their kids can have something rather than nothing. So I'm going to ask you guys as the audience, what are you guys willing to sacrifice at this time? And is the sacrifice worth it for you? If it's not worth it, then by all means, it might not be a good time for you. But whether or not it's a good time or not is irrelevant, because that's subjective. Whether or not the market's going to crash, you got to look at it both ways. It's just like a chessboard. If the market turns this way, the market crashes, are you still going to be okay? Are you still going to be able to make your mortgage without really super stressing out? Or do you still have a little bit of leeway to wait for when the market goes back up? Do you have enough rooms set up so that in the event where you really need help with mortgage, that this is the worst case scenario, you're still okay, you can still do that? Can you convert your garage? And many, 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 many homes in the Bay Area. I came from San Jose, and most of the homes that I'm seeing for my people who are looking in that area have converted garage. That might be the case here.
Yeah, I mean, because you gotta survive. We're going through some crazy times on top of one another. The war, inflation, gas shortages, and people's income is staying the same. People's salaries are staying the same. Uh, so, like, I I know some people that are going to school in the Sacramento Unified School, and a lot of those teachers right now are on strike because they're getting the school board is cutting their paychecks, their salaries, they're getting rid of their benefits, and a lot of those teachers aren't happy with this, so they're going on strike. So during this time of the teachers going on strike, there's no school for those kids. So eventually, what if that turns into like back to school now for that district because they can't afford to pay to have 50 students in the classroom now? It's more manageable for a teacher if they go back to homeschools. I don't know. So like there's so many things going on right now in the world to where it's very hard not to be distracted and move on with your lives and continue on with your livelihood, right? So that's why I'm saying when you're buying a home right now, you should just buy it so that way you can survive past this. And
Right.
even if it's the home you do not prefer, if it's able to get you bypass this hurdle when the market does calm down, it's more stabilized and more fair, then you can sell it and buy your home that you've always wanted to buy. It's never too late. It's not a race. Home ownership is not a race, It's not. It's a marathon. Enjoy the process, but then don't force yourself into home ownership if it's gonna, take out money from a rainy day. If it's gonna mean you maximize your budget. If it's gonna mean that like the moment that the market crashes, you can't afford it no more. Like these are all real questions that we get asked a lot. Like buyers ask us all the time. If the market crashed, what am I gonna do if I really bought a home and the value of my house went down in half?
Right.
As long as you can answer those questions, then you know whether it's a good time to buy or not.
Yeah.
Everybody's situation is different. Some of these questions are coming in. I live in Whittier. Want to buy? Is it a good time? Well, hopefully that helped you, James. Is this a good time to buy a house in Cali? Well, you tell me after hearing what me and Lisa just said.
Mm-hmm.
Boone says the cost of operation, repairs, and living is high, so no one is really making money. It's a nightmare being a landlord in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Mm.
I think it's a nightmare being a landlord anywhere
Mm-hmm.
right now
See,
because,
it's not
yeah,
as luxurious as a lot of people think.
being a landlord, making all the big bucks.
Yeah, everybody always thinks it's like, oh, my landlord's, the landlord's always the big guy making all the big bucks. It's like, no, there's tiers, guys. It takes a while to be the 10%, the 5%, the 1%. Okay. A lot of
Yeah.
investors are struggling too.
Ricky says should move out of state, Arizona, Texas. That's what a lot of people are doing.
Yeah,
But I would say this. I would say this. Don't just look at the house price of a state and make that a deciding factor for you to move your whole entire family. Because I'll tell you this, look at the overall cost. The housing might be cheaper, but what about the utilities? What about the food? What about the taxes? What about insurance? What about the
right,
lifestyle? What about your pay? Like you gotta consider the overall whole picture, not just the house. Because
right,
I know people that moved to Georgia, moved to like Atlanta, moved to like Minnesota, St. Paul, because the prices were so cheaper than it is here in Cali. But then they're there for like a year or 2 years and they come back. Why? Because they're not used to that lifestyle. There's snow now. They gotta go get salt. Their undercarriage of their new cars are all rusted out because of the salt from the roads. Utilities a little bit higher. Food is taxed. So little things like that, So like consider the overall picture, Ricky. I can't answer that question for you whether it's a good idea for you guys to move or not. But then it might. And I think the reason why so many people are asking this question, Lisa, is because
yeah,
they see big companies doing it, right? They see HP,
yeah,
Hewlett Packard. They see like Tesla, Elon in them. They see Joe Rogan. They see Ben Shapiro. They see all these big people that are moving, but then they're moving for a purpose. It's because business wise, it makes more sense for them to move. Even though it's expensive to move their whole team in
right.
business, it's cheaper long term as a business to move because Sacramento state and federal tax is just too high.
So you just did the ding, ding, ding. You hit the nail on the board right there, Chia. Remember earlier, guys, I talked to you guys about the ripple effect of that rock in that pond. This is exactly the reason why. When you say, hey, tax the big guys more, tax the big guys more, okay? You keep taxing the big guys who are paying the little guys, well, then they're just going to move their business somewhere else where they're
Yep.
not getting taxed so much.
Or
Now,
they get tax higher and the cost of doing business goes up. They pass that cost to you and
right. I
me when
mean,
we go out on date nights, and then we
yeah,
wonder why it went up. Well, it's because their business expenses just went up too, so they still got to pay
right,
bills.
right,
It's a
right.
ripple effect for sure.
It's an absolute ripple effect, guys. And when you look at the overall picture, I think a lot of your gut feeling, you'll know whether or not it's going to go up or go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mark it up, mark it down. But again, that's a very small part of why you should or shouldn't do this. Keep your eye on the prize. Do the numbers make sense for you? What is
Right.
your long-term goal? Does it help move you to a future that you want?
Yeah.
And if those answers are yes, then regardless of what the market is, you already know that answer to that. And
Mm-hmm.
if you already know that your situation is really, really tight, you're going to be stressed out all the time. Okay. You're going to be worried. And the moment property tax changes, and it will, and home insurance gets higher because now your home is worth more and you're feeling that stress even more. Okay. It might not be a good time for you to buy. Or it might be time for you to reevaluate and say, hey, could you move your family, although it's not ideal, in a one bedroom and rent out the other two temporarily, so the bleeding stops.
Yeah.
Okay, the bleeding stops. You don't have to look for rental. and come back to a situation where that part that helped you out, okay, because you get to make that choice. When you're a renter, you don't get to make that choice.
It's all about control, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You want to position yourself to be more in control of your lifestyle, so that way you could have options. In
Yeah.
this day and age, having options is so important. The more options you have, the better you could do for you and your family. And Sabrina says, do you think maybe in 2 years the housing price will go down? With everything that's going on, if it continues to get worse, like with rates going up, Sabrina, this year 6x more times, I think by next year or at least in 2 years, we'll start noticing some change, but we'll know more around that time because it's too soon, because real estate is really volatile. It goes up,
Yeah.
it goes down, and there's a lot of determining factors for that to happen. So, like, I feel like maybe for sure by the end of next year, we'll have a better idea of where the market's heading. But then for right now, I don't
Right.
see it happening anytime soon. I don't.
So I'm going to add to that. In my opinion, I don't think it's volatile. Not like what's happening with crypto and
Oh, yeah,
stocks
stocks,
and
yeah.
everything like that. It's not volatile like that, but it is cyclical. So what comes up must come down because historically that's been happening, right? That's been happening. But historically, okay, we have not just increased the price of houses. Not only has the interest rates fluctuated so much, which then is such a small time frame, okay, but we also have the highest pool of educated people in home ownership. We have the highest number of homeowners currently as well. So when people are savvy into investing and understanding that, and more people are understanding that, the demand and the supply is not going to be so, the margin is not going to be so great where it's going to crash like 2008 per se. That's my personal opinion. Okay. It may adjust. It may slowly back down to adjust because of the people who qualified before now can't qualify because they're priced out. Okay. It's unfortunate, but there are already those people and there are going to continue to be more people like that. So not to scare you guys more, but reevaluate that and really ask yourself, are you going to wait for that bird in hand?
Yep. There you go, Sabrina. Hopefully that helps. I know it wasn't a clear-cut answer, but then it's hard to say in real estate.
Yeah. You would think so. You would absolutely think so. It's due time.
Yeah, if it feels like it's only natural, right? Especially now, but it's still going up, y'all. Texas Blaze says, I'm currently purchasing a house in Texas. I made this decision since rent was going up and my mortgage would have been the same. Like certain places like Texas and other areas, the price hasn't gone up that crazy high compared to like how like New York and California is right now. So like, yeah, if you're able to find a home, even in California, where the numbers make sense, similar to you, Texas Blaze, then there's nothing wrong with buying it high. I mean, don't listen to your friends and uncles and buddies that say, oh, the price is too high, it's so expensive. Why are you buying right now? It's so expensive. It doesn't matter if it's expensive. Can you afford it? If you can afford it and it's not gonna bleed a hole down your pocket, then like it's okay. Those people aren't paying your bills anyways. They're gonna say this, say that. It's all for good intentions, but then they don't know your personal situation like you do. So as long as the numbers make sense.
Not only do they not know your situation, guys, but a lot of times people like to be helpful, but they're not the subject matter experts on that. You don't want your emotional tie, okay, and their limitations to be your limitations. Again, not ill-intentioned at all. Everybody always wants to help out, especially the closer that you guys are. But this is the reason why you have experts for certain things of your life so that and you can make your own decision. And this is the reason why Chia and I talk about everything and not just what's going on in the real estate market, because everything else, the ripple effect does affect it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Serena says again, Arizona tax went up last year or the year before. Texas doesn't have state tax. Their housing market is also feeling the increase on pricing. However, houses can be cheaper depending on area. For sure, certain areas of the U.S. is going to crash first.
Yeah.
No doubt. It's a different market, different data driven, different demand, different lifestyle. So because of that, it's going to be different in every market.
Yeah.
What me and Lisa are talking about is really what's in our market right now. You know, based off of California, based off of Sacramento County, it's not gonna crash. It is not gonna crash. The demand is still too high, and there's just so much going on. You know, people. Even though there's people moving out, there's people moving in.
So when I was driving up to SoCal, Chia, I saw this house. It's like right in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I couldn't tell where it was, but it was somewhere in between Bakersfield and LA, okay? Where there's like no land. But then all of a sudden I saw these houses, and there were several houses on sale. But there were boards on top of the windows everywhere. There is animals, there's wild everything. So there's a part of the market, if you go out there and buy a house and it's super duper rural where it's really hard to get internet, it's really hard to get anything, you know, those markets may be the ones that are crashing, which makes the market a little bit skewed. Because I just read an article on Forbes too, talking about, you know, the market crash and everything like that. You got to take a look at every single market. Like, you know, you said, it's very, very different. Just like when you guys go on eBay and you see an auction and you see something that's ridiculously high price, but people still buy it. Why? It's because there's still people that want it. So if California prices are high, or wherever you guys have that's continuing increases and you're getting frustrated, it's because there's still so many people willing to make that offer.
The demand is there. I do want to say something about the tax rate going up, Sabrina. Thanks for sharing, by the way. Taxes, property taxes, are going to be going up and getting reassessed every year for, I think, another year or two. Right, Lisa?
I know.
So that goes back to what me and Lisa always talk about, budgeting, right? If you're buying a home right now at your very max debt to income ratio, imagine when the property tax goes up next year. You're losing money every month now because your tax went up. And that's why it's so important to account for that. Because even though, you know, like your job didn't go down, property tax went up. You know, probably home insurance went up too. So like things like that you need to also consider when you're buying a home. And you can't just look at my principal and interest is great. Yes. Because that's never gonna change for 30 years. But your insurance and your taxes are gonna change.
Yep.
So you gotta consider that.
Questions. I'm getting so many of those. You said it was supposed to be like fixed and everything. I was like, oh, it is fixed. Remember, we talked about this. And
principal and interest is fixed.
Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, like consider that. You know, property tax going up, and I think they're proposing that it's gonna go up based off of how much your home is worth by the time they reassess it. So you know how homes right now are going up in value so quickly? They want a piece of that. So even though you're not selling it, refinancing it, getting it reassessed, they're going to do it automatically. So based off of how much your home is worth when they reassess, they're going to be changing your tax based off of that.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout. It's going to be the norm for a couple years. Texas Blaze, I'm planning to live in it for at least 10 years. Good for you. Always buy for long term. If you're buying for under 5 years, man, unless you're a flipper, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Unless the market keeps going up the way it is, then it might be an easy flip. You just got to hold it.
Right.
But never gamble on appreciation, though. Gamble on the numbers.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in there for 10 years, you be good. You're good. Is it better to put 30% or 20% down when buying a home? Lisa?
That's a really, really good question, Sabrina. You guys are asking really good questions today. So realistically, you got to take a look at an overall picture. What is it? What is your real true goal? And your real true goal shouldn't just be home ownership. Okay, guys, that's what T and I are, you know, experts in. But when you really are looking at your overall picture, your lifestyle, your wealth building portfolio, your real estate is only one part of that portfolio. Okay. The difference in that 10% payment, okay, can you put it somewhere else while you're building wealth with your house and having that stability? Okay. If you put that 10% in an S&P 500, if you're putting it in your 401k, if you possibly could put it there for that rainy day because you're at the cusp every single month, that might be better for you to put less down. However, let's just say you're in a really, really nice situation and everything like that. The more you put down, the faster you're going to pay off your house because this is your dream home. This is the home that regardless of, let's just say down the line, even though you thought it was your dream home, because I've had a lot of people say that. I was like, oh, this is my dream home. And then 5 years down the line, they're like, okay, their eyes kind of adjusted and they're like, it's not my dream home anymore. I want this home
Yep.
now, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Then you would have had something extra for that and you can rent it out. So if you put more down, the closer you are to paying it off. Does paying it off make sense for you? Okay. Do you have any other tax write-offs? That might not be the best. So when you take a look at that, all of that, in order for you to be that in that financial situation where you feel like, okay, I want to retire at 50. I want to have X, Y, and Z. I want to be able to have this much passive income because I know my Social Security is not going to cover the lifestyle that I want. And if it's not, okay, where can that additional 10% allow you to do that? Will you be keeping this home even if you have another dream home? Can that 20% that you put down on the mortgage offset the rent so that you can go take that 10% and put it elsewhere?
Leverage your money.
Yeah.
Leverage your money, find out. Oh, you know what? I want to kind of skip to this one real quick by Sabrina. Thank you. I work for an investment firm and we talk about the housing market, the war, stock market. My boss keeps saying it's a terrible time to buy. They advise me to wait 2 to 3 years. That's funny you say that, Sabrina.
Mhm.
Is your investment firm still buying homes? And they want you not to be part of the competition? I'm just teasing.
So a lot of investment firms, they have the capability of buying homes in bulk, so they kind of get a discount, whereas we regular folks are buying one at a time, right? So when you're talking about all that, again, they don't know your full situation. Okay, so make the assessment for yourself. Take a look at everything.
Yeah.
You have to have everybody in your backup. You got the investment firms, you are savvy on that area. Okay, so you probably know where to put that 10% better than we do. Okay, and then
Yeah, you're working for an
10%,
investment firm.
right? Does that 10%, what part of it is tax sheltered and not sheltered, right? And what part of it, when you're putting it into your mortgage, can save you more money on that portion too? So your tax advisor, your financial advisor, your lending advisor, your real estate advisor, all four of those people should be strong to build you that portfolio that you want.
Yeah. There's a lot of investment companies right now that are still buying homes, even though it's a bad time to buy, because it's doing them better versus having cash being eaten away by inflation, and they're not, and for them, they're looking at it on the standpoint of, shoot, I'm not paying the mortgage, tenants are.
Yeah.
But at least I own this asset.
So I actually had a couple of investors who tell me, I was like, Lisa, I don't care if I cash flow negative. Why? It's because he's making so much on his other business. He actually needs to lose
something
money
to offset it.
Exactly. So again, everybody's numbers are completely different.
At the end of the day, he still controls the property.
Yeah.
So everybody's agenda is different. Everybody's situation is different. That's why you can't just go based off of what we say today. You can't even go based off of what your boss says or anybody.
Yeah.
Go based off of what your situation says. That's more important because at the end of the day, you are paying your own bills.
Yeah.
I have a coworker that lives 60 to 100 miles away just so they can afford a house. They make that drive back and forth each day. Yeah. If you are buying, let's say right now, if you're buying in Sacramento or Grove and it's getting too pricey, people are going to Plumas. People are going to Marysville. People are going to Yuba.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's the
There's
whole
nothing
reason.
wrong with that.
That's that ripple effect all over again, guys. Bay Area coming here. Here's going to Redding. They're going to outside Manteca. Manteca is going over to even further out, Patterson, and all sorts of stuff. So
That's
everybody is affecting every market is somewhat affecting each other.
Yep, that's how it is. So it's happening everywhere. If you cannot buy or find a home that's affordable in your ideal area, go to the outskirts. Guarantee homes are going to be $50,000 to maybe even $100,000 cheaper for the same quality home. You just got to drive to work a little bit further. But hey, if you're working from home, who cares?
You know, it's funny, Sabrina, that you mentioned that because as a lender, when there is a huge commute, we always have to ask our people to write a letter that says, yeah, I am going to do that commute. I have no choice.
Yep. And again, it's totally doable and legal. It's just like houses would never go back to 20K ever. Oh,
no.
never.
Well, maybe that rural area that I told you guys about, I don't
know. Yeah, but then maybe that home started off at maybe the lowest point for that home was 5,000. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's never gonna get to 20K.
It looked like it was all planks, you guys, and there were several of them.
Sabrina says, "What is the recommended DTI when buying a house?"
So that's really up to you. Okay. When the rule of thumb is for an FHA loan, you can go all the way up to 57%. Regular conventional loans are typically 45%. Some of them, when you have great credit, great everything, it's up to 50%. You got to take a look at the whole picture. If you're making, if the cost of food and everything like that, whether you're living in a $500,000 house or a $800,000 house, may be the same. Okay. So if your income is so close to all of your needs, it doesn't matter what your debt to income ratio is. Personally, my rule of thumb is don't make it more than 30%. But realistically, if we did that, then very, very little people will be buying. The other thing is, anytime I see two people qualifying together and I say, hey, if all of your bills can be covered by one spouse or one person, and the rainy day and anything changes, and it's not about if life happens, guys, it's when life happens. And y'all know when it rains, it pours. Come on, right? It's just that trickle effect that keeps happening. So if you have at least that amount, and Susie Orman once upon a time says, yeah, if you have about 10%, I don't know about you, but in this day and age, I don't think 10% is nearly enough. Okay? Unless you're investing it and you're churning it and you're doing something else with it that will grow grow greater than the rate of inflation. Take a look at the whole situation before you really, really look at that.
Mm-hmm. All right. We are not buying at this time. We are not buying triple net leases either due to high prices being too high. Yep. Okay. I get it. Everybody has their different agendas. Do you believe it's a smart move to buy a home now? I mean, a home, not now, and get one or two roommates to help pay down the mortgage, which can allow for me to save for my retirement. And yeah, that's what everybody is doing now because prices are so expensive right now. If you could afford, if your lifestyle permits you to have roommates to help you pay the mortgage, freaking do it.
Yeah,
because you still own the property, right? They're just helping you pay the mortgage, so they're just roommates.
Yeah, personally, that 10% difference, if your payments are still affordable, Sabrina, I personally invest that 10% and make each of those bedrooms, if that's something that you're looking to do, make all of those bedrooms into suites. They're all master bedrooms. so that when you do rent it out, you're going to see your roommates a lot less if they don't have to share a bathroom with somebody else. And maybe that will create a little bit more peace. It does for a rental situation when we're landlords, okay? So I can't imagine it not to be able to do the same when you're actually living there with the people that you're renting it out to.
Yeah, and like if you just there's a lot of ways you can go about it, right? Let's say you rent out 1 or 2 rooms to some roommates. Maybe when it's time for you to buy your own home, you rent out the 3rd bedroom that you just vacate to another person. Now you got 3 roommates paying your mortgage, which is normally higher than a whole family renting your whole house. And then there you go, you have your own property and you have rental income coming in. That's how a lot of people start. You know, they rent out their rooms or they buy a small little condo or 1 or 2 bedroom house, and then they flourish from there. So big dreams, start small. This is a perfect example. If you're able to do it and get roommates, freaking do it.
Yep.
Like sometimes it's funny. I even tell my wife, we can't outlive this whole house. We should just rent out some empty rooms that we never use, or just live in an RV and park on the driveway and rent out the whole house. Like I'm that type of person where I'm willing to do that. But then, you know, my wife on the other hand, she's a little bit more like, no, we got kids. Heck no, we ain't doing that, you know. But you can get creative. There's people that do that.
Honestly,
if your lifestyle permits it, do it.
Honestly, I was gonna say, you know what? I don't care. My kids are so old now that
See, you're in a different season than me, though. I just got a 1-year-old, you know.
Well, yeah, you're different. But I told my husband, I was like, you know, I'm gonna move in with mom and dad because they need help and everything like that.
Yeah, we can rent out our house, right?
Yeah.
For reals. And then there you go. There's your retirement plan right there. I'm just saying. Yep. You got options, Sabrina. Okay, last comment of the night, and we're gonna end it. Okay, this is from Boone. They also have salesmen calling every property owners and making cheaper offers where they will have room to make a profit on it. You know, yeah, you know, like a lot of investment firms, investment companies, investors do that. Because again, at the end of the day, it's a business. It has to be profitable in order for the business to continue being a business and to pay their employees, right? So of course you got to make sales calls to owners to buy at a price to where you can still have room to make money after you renovate it, all of that. But of course, we're not going to talk about that today. That's more for like an investment class. But yeah, that's true. There's people calling owners every day. But all right, Chi fams, thanks again for a wonderful night. We are gonna cut it here. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. But we are out. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for all the questions.
Guys.
Yeah, thanks for all the questions, all the comments. Don't forget to like this video on your way out. And we really appreciate you guys. So take care.
Have a good